talk about the Benicia Tree Foundation. We're going to talk about the partners that we've worked with to plant 1,000 trees that we've planted. We'll tell you how we think 1,000 trees we have planted make Benicia a better place, why that is. We'll talk about our most recent accomplishments this past year in planting our trees and goals that we have for 2022 for this year and beyond. I also need to introduce our board members. We have Allison Fleck, she's our president of the board. We have Barbara Wood, who is our treasurer on the board, and we have Braden Begbie, who is our at-large member on the board. And up until 2 weeks ago, we did have a fifth board member, Jackson Udy. But Jackson has since moved to Salt Lake City, so we do have a vacancy that we need one or more people to fill on our board, and so hope you give that some thought after this evening.
And by the way, this is Steve Getz.
Oh, yeah.
And he is on our board. He's secretary, but as you can tell, he does way more than just that.
So this first slide talks about when we were established in 2009. We got our certification from the IRS to be a 501c3. We were started using some seed money from a lawsuit settlement against the Valero refinery, which resulted in allocating $750,000 to a yet-to-be-formed nonprofit to plant trees in the community. And so we took advantage of that opportunity. We hired a part-time executive director, and he got the ball rolling, got the organization set up and running. We went through that money in about 5 years, after which time we transitioned to an all-volunteer organization, which is how we've been operating ever since. And the only requirement to be on our board of directors is you have to believe in our mission. And the mission of the Benicia Tree Foundation is to strengthen community through tree planting, education, and maintenance. And we put an emphasis on strengthening community because that's really our primary objective, and we use trees as a tool to accomplish it. And we've planted our 1,000 trees through two programs. One is our Benicia Tree Keeper program, where property owners who want to plant a tree on their property can come to us and ask us for free advice. We'll give you advice on what tree to select, where to put it on your property, give you advice on where to buy your tree, how to plant it, and how to maintain it. And so that's the Tree Keeper program. And our second program is our Tree Care Days program. Through that program, we organize volunteers to either plant trees or maintain the trees that we plant. We organize the volunteers, supply them with the training, materials, equipment, snacks, and through that we've planted our 1,000 trees. This is where our 1,000 trees are located. The red place marker marks Benicia Tree Foundation projects that are on public property. The blue place marker marks locations of the Tree Keeper projects, so they're trees on private property. And they're pretty well distributed throughout the city. Even the industrial park has a couple of tree keepers. And if you want to see how the trees are divided by property owners, about half the trees are planted are on Benicia Unified School District property, who we need to thank for inviting us or allowing us to use this fine facility for free. They have really been great partners. And also about 25% of the trees are in the yellow, which is the city of Benicia property. And then the balance of the remaining 25% of the trees are divided evenly between either property from some other public agency or private property. Oh, by the way, if you do have any questions on some of the information I'm going over, feel free to ask them. You don't have to wait until the end of the presentation. We did not plant all these trees on our own. We had partners to do that. One of our primary partners has been the City of Benicia. They helped us get grants through the Sustainability Commission. They've also allowed us to plant trees in city parks when we've had funds available to do so. And they have also allowed us to plant trees in city-owned open space. So we've done that to help improve the open space's recreational and habitat value. The Benicia Unified School District is another important partner. They've sponsored tree planting projects on every campus in the system. And we also involve the students in all of our tree projects on these campuses. So that gives us the opportunity to educate the students on the benefits of trees, why trees are important, how to plant the right tree in the right place, how to plant a tree, and how to maintain it. So that's been a very gratifying partnership for us. Another public agency we work with is a housing authority. The Benicia Housing Authority sponsored a tree planting project at their Capitol Heights apartment complex several years ago. The state of California has been a partner. We've been allowed to plant trees at the Benicia State Recreation Area. The National Guard Armory is owned by the state, and they've allowed us to plant trees at that facility. And most recently, Caltrans has allowed us to plant trees on 2 freeway off-ramps on Interstate 80 that goes through Benicia. The private sector has also been an important partner for the Tree Foundation. Valero has been very generous in donations to our cause. They also have participated in our Tree Keeper program by planting trees on their property. And they also encourage their employees to volunteer at our Tree Care Day events. The nonprofit community is also our partner. We've partnered with Sustainable Solano. They co-sponsored some previous Tree Care Days, and this year we partnered in one of their programs. They have Youth Environmental Leadership Fellowship Program, and in that program they recruit high school students to study environmental issues in their community, and we had the high school students in that program come to a couple of our Tree Care Day events where they learned about urban forestry and the benefits urban forestry can make to the community's environment. And finally, the other nonprofit that cooperates with us and partners with us is the California Native Plant Society. They have a native plant nursery in Vallejo where they grow native trees for us to plant, and they help us recruit volunteers to plant. But our most important volunteer or partner are our volunteers. And this graph shows you volunteer activity from 2016 to 2021. The first bar shows the number of events that we have for that year, and it ranges from 19 to 26. The second bar represents the number of volunteers that we recruited in that year, and the third bar for that year would identify the volunteer hours generated during that year. And we recruit volunteers through our website, through our Facebook page, through the newspaper. We also have a monthly email message that we send out to about a little over 400 email addresses. And if you, we encourage you to sign up for our email list if you haven't done so yet. We also use Volunteer Match and Solano Volunteers, which are free websites that advertise volunteer opportunities in the county. And finally, we also work with employers who want to sponsor community volunteer events for community service. And so we've done that on occasion as well. You can't plant trees without money. So this gives you a picture of our overall finances. This information is from our IRS forms that we complete every year and file with the IRS. We operate on a fiscal year that begins July 1st to June 30th. The IRS forms ask us how much revenue we've generated, and that's what the first bar shows in each year. And then not their second question, but another question they ask is, what have been your expenditures for the year? And that's what the second bar shows. And then they also ask the question of, what is your fund balance? How much money do you have in the bank? And that's what the third bar shows. And fortunately, the trend has been upward. This gives you more detail on how we spend the money. This is our operating budget for this year that ends June 30th. And this only includes, this does not include our cost for the trees. This is basically the budget of what we need to keep the lights on. Our biggest expense are support services. This is the gray area. We spent this year about $2,000, and this is money that we pay other people for our phone, for our accounting, for insurance, for our fees, for software, and for membership to various organizations that the Tree Foundation participates in. The next biggest category would be our supplies. We spent about $1,800 this year on supplies for either the trees or our volunteers. And then the yellow, we spent about $1,400 a year to rent an 8x8 storage unit at Benicia Mini Storage. And so with that money, with this money and with this board and with these programs, all this capacity that we've generated, it allows us to promote trees in Benicia, and this is why we do it. This describes the various benefits that trees bring to our community. First is that obviously they provide shade. If you have a large tree by your house, you can save your air conditioning costs from up to 10%. If you're out on a hot day in the sun and you walk under the shade of a tree, your skin temperature will drop from 5 to 15 degrees. Trees also help improve business. There's only one street where the trees are maintained by the city, and that street is First Street. And the reason why the city wants to do that is because it wants to encourage business activity on First Street. And the research seems to support that strategy. Research on business districts that are very similar. One business district will have a tree canopy, the other one will have not so much. The one with a better tree canopy will will generate more revenue, sometimes as much as 20% higher revenue. Trees also increase property values. If you put a tree in your front yard, it can increase your property value from anywhere from 1 to 10%. Trees help reduce stormwater runoff and soil erosion. Trees, they capture the rainfall in their leaves, in their limbs, in their root structures. And then when the weather gets good and sunny, the tree will transpire this moisture from within itself out through its leaves into the atmosphere. Trees slow traffic. There's been studies done on similar streets. One street that except one street will have a tree canopy and the other will not. They found that the traffic on streets with a tree canopy have slower traffic anywhere from 3 to 15 miles per hour. Trees absorb greenhouse gases, which most people know, but you should know that they absorb a large tree will absorb about 330 pounds of carbon dioxide a year. And during the life of a tree, a large tree, it'll absorb about 6 metric tons of carbon dioxide. Trees clean our air. In fact, our air district encourages planting large trees adjacent to heavily traveled roadways to capture the particulate matter that is generated off of vehicle traffic. Trees also produce oxygen. Trees provide habitat for wildlife, especially if it's a native tree. And then we found through our experience, trees can strengthen our community because most people like trees and like to get together to plant and care for them. What have we done for Benicia lately? These are our accomplishments for the past year. We sponsored 3 events where we've planted 19 trees. We've helped Benicia Tree Keepers plant 3 trees. We sponsored 23 tree care days and to maintain almost 1,200 trees. We've recruited 241 volunteers. 20% of them have been under 18. We've generated over 1,000 volunteer hours, and we've launched a sorely needed new website. And I'd like to give a shout out to WG Graphics, who produced. They're a local company that redid our website, and they did a great job and gave us a great deal. We can't say good enough things about them. So what are our goals for the future? This is why we invited you here. These are our near-term goals. We want to plant 100 trees at these 3 sites, the middle school, the high school, and the community park. Our middle and high school projects, we started actually those projects at the beginning of 2020, but the pandemic delayed those projects, and then the school has some bond-funded construction projects at both these campuses, and so that's delayed them up to now. Hopefully this fall we'll be able to proceed with them. We hope to establish a tree club at Benicia High School through Sustainable Solano's Youth Environmental Leadership Fellowship Program. We met 2 students at Benicia High who want to encourage other students to get involved in urban forestry. When school starts next fall, they plan to form a tree club and work to help recruit volunteers for tree care days. We will be installing signs at 2 of our projects. We were given a grant fund specifically to install signs at our Lake Herman open space project. The city is currently reviewing the plans for those signs, and hopefully we'll be able to install them this fall out at Lake Herman. And we recently had a Boy Scout adopt one of our project sites for his Eagle Scout project, and he will be installing a sign at our project at Robert Semple Elementary School that will describe the various trees that have been planted there and how we went about planting them. Our third goal is to sponsor more tree care days and tree keepers so that we can get more trees planted. We also will be supporting the update of the Parks, Trails, and Open Space Master Plan. They just had a meeting yesterday. They hope to finish it by the end of the year. And through that plan, we hope it will encourage and support more trees in our parks, more trees on our trails, and more trees in our open space. And finally, we'll also be supporting the city's tree program. We do that in a couple ways. One, we participate on the city's tree, the tree subcommittee of the Parks, Recreation, and Cemetery Commission. And we also help the city organize this annual Arbor Day event where it plants trees to celebrate Arbor Day. And by doing those things, the city also maintains its Tree City USA designation. This is a planting plan of our middle school project. We have trees proposed between the freeway and the ball field, and then trees proposed along the Southampton Road. And this is a planting plan for the Benicia High School project. We plan to plant trees between the ball field and the stadium up at the top of the picture. And we proposing to plant some trees between the ball fields and Mary Farmer Elementary School. This is a aerial view of the Benicia Community Park. All these white marks you see up above, north of the park, are actually the fairways for the disc golf course. The disc golf course users approached us this year wanting to see if we could help them plant trees so that the users have some shade and can make their golf course a little bit more challenging, or disc course a little bit more challenging. The city seems supportive of that, and so we will have the users this fall begin putting irrigation flags where they want the trees to go, and then we'll work with the Native Plant Society to grow the native trees that we will use to plant.